All right. Oh, I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Higurashi no Naku Koroni and me streaming. It has been a long time. My computer died, and therefore I had to get a completely new computer. Yay. But so it's been a while, and I apologize for that. So last time, oh, it's been a while. Okay, so let me see if I remember. So last time I had the theory that Rena was trying to spread the disease to Keiichi by getting him scared and paranoid to see if that she could actually spread the disease. That was what I thought. Once again, before I get started, make sure to follow on YouTube. I post all of these videos edited so you don't hear my babbling at the beginning and stuff. So please, please, please follow on there. I'm also going to, I think since I can actually do karaoke on YouTube, I'm going to start a like musical Friday or something like that, but I will be streaming that on YouTube instead. I'm really trying to get my YouTube channel more going, just because I really love editing videos, actually. It's quite fun. So without further ado, let's continue, shall we? I hope I'm on the right chapter. I had to re-download everything and such. New computer. I should apologize, Rena. I don't think I believed you. I'm really sorry about that. It's okay, Keiichi. I'm just glad we didn't get caught. Who are they? Are they pawns of those religious fanatics who are trying to revive the cult? I think they don't realize they're pawns, but I'm sure the masterminds are using them as such. They must be the ones who have been pulling strings behind the scenes ever since the dam conflict. I heard people working for the Sonozaki family did something similar during the dam conflict itself. Everyone knows that. Oishi told me that. There was a kidnapping incident during the dam conflict. The case hasn't been disclosed to the public, but anyway, someone kidnapped the grandson of the minister and coerced the minister into promising to put a halt to the dam construction. The grandson of the minister was kidnapped? I've never heard about that before. The minister submitted to the demands and they made a deal behind the scenes. That's why the incident never went public. Oishi only knows about it because he was in charge of the case. Okay, and? According to Oishi, between kidnapping the minister's grandson and blackmailing him, the tactics were frighteningly advanced. The police know the Sonozaki family gave orders to the kidnappers, but the case still remains unsolved. At that time, the head of the Sonozaki family, Oryo, had announced a plan to fight against the dam project by force. She even formed a special attack corps using the Yakuza group that's under the Sonozaki family's command. She was very serious about the plan to put the Ministry of Construction down by brute force if she couldn't stop it. Everyone knows the Sonozaki family had tried to stop the dam project even if it meant breaking the law. So I wasn't surprised to hear that she had a dangerous plan like that. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mion who came up with the idea. The plan sounds just like her. In the end, the plan ended up as nothing more than that, but the Special Attacks Corps actually did undergo training, and very high-level training at that. Oishi had uncovered the information right after the dam conflict ended. At the time, Oryo even said that if the village was going to be submerged, all members of the Onikakushi Guardians would stay in their houses and drown. So because Oyo was behind those things, I couldn't just laugh off the idea of an armed assault on the Ministry of Construction. According to the information Oishi seized, she planned a suicide mission as a last resort when the dam conflict started to heat up in case their resistance wasn't successful. She had actually obtained weapons and put people through training for the sake of that plan. The Special Attack Corps were flown to America, having received huge amount of money from Oyo for the operation. What the hell? In the southern desert of the United States, some retired military soldiers gave them highly professional training. While the plan was never carried out, the Special Attack Corps became a death squad under the direct control of Oryo after they came back from America. They were involved in many unsolved terrorist incidents, and they succeeded in kidnapping the grandson of the minister as well. It sounds like it's from a movie or something. Do you remember how Mi-chan said that she could do anything from flying helicopters to using wireless radios? It's actually all true. It seems like Mi joined in their training. So that was all true? Well, let's put that aside for now. Anyway, you have to at least believe that the Death Squad actually exists and they're capable of kidnapping the grandson of a government minister. I didn't take a close look at the 4 men in the white van today, but thinking about it, they did look professional in a way. So I want to remind you again, now, because we're in the answer arcs, I'm taking everything that is given to me as true. And maybe I shouldn't, maybe I'm misreading that, but you know, answer arc makes you think it's giving you the answers. And in the last book, Mion, before she died, said that Oryo didn't know anything about the Hinamizawa curse. And in this book, we found out that it's like a psychological thing, which actually is what I was saying. It makes sense. It's like a drug, right? Or it's like that's what I was saying that it was. So it could definitely be that Oryo didn't have an actual, like, she didn't actually order people to do it, but like they were saying in that book, like if she wanted something, people would just do it for her. So she may have literally had no idea, you know, but that's kind of hard to believe considering her position and how she was like laughing about Satoshi killing, like, you know, at the festival. Anyways, let's continue. Right now, it feels like Rena is manipulating Keiichi. That's exactly what it feels like right now. They were pretending to just take a break, but I could tell they were tense the entire time. So, are they really trying to kill you? I don't think so. If they really wanted to kill me, I'd be dead already. So what do they want? Are they after Takano's scrapbooks? No books. Like you saw yourself, the group is very cautious. Unless we show them an opening, they won't resort to force. If they were the type to use force outright, they could have attacked me in my sleep. They haven't done that yet, so they must mean they're taking it cautiously. They're probably not sure that I have the scrapbooks. They killed Mio and tried to dispose of them, but they found out the most important ones were missing. They thought she gave them to someone because she knew her life was in danger. Now they think I'm the one who has them. But they're not sure, so they can't resort to violence. Why not? Rena, it sounds like you're playing a dangerous game. Yeah, I'm a bit scared. But they won't be able to erase me so easily. After all, I'm cooperating with Oishi. I've been frequently contacting him in case something happens. What did he say about them? He said he'd keep an eye on the Sonozaki family so they could catch them right away if they're working behind the scenes. Did you tell him about the scrapbooks? No, I didn't. I think you should. He's an officer. I'm sure the police will help you. Keiichi, I can't even tell you the secret of this village because I'm not sure you would believe me. I don't think Oishi would believe me if I told him any of this. Rena, Let's not make it more confusing than it already is. Just tell me. What is it? What's written in the scrapbooks? What's the secret that killed Mio? Simply put, if the things written in the scrapbooks are true, the god they worship will be the dethroned. Their god dethroned? Yes. The sanctity of Oyashiro-sama will be lost. I'm lost. That's why they want to conceal the truth. They want to resurrect people's belief in Oyashiro-sama. Rena, can you explain it a little more simply than that? I'm confused. In other words, Oyashiro-sama isn't a god. He isn't? I had no idea what she read that made her so certain. But whatever it was, it'd be sacrilegious for people who believe so strongly in Oyashiro-sama. There are many teachings of Oyashiro-sama, but the essence is as follows. Don't leave the village and don't let anybody into the village. One could even say the rest of his teachings were developed to maintain those two fundamentals. But everybody in the village treats Keiichi very nicely. And he's new to the village, though. It really wasn't until later that they added aspects like love your neighbor or viewing him as god of marriage and domestic prosperity. In other words, Oyashiro-sama existed solely to stop the villagers from going outside the village. Oyashiro-sama doesn't bless the villagers or protect them from disasters. The people believe that Oyashiro-sama does all that for them, but the truth is that the people abused his name for that purpose, generation after generation, and nothing more than that. Why did Oyashiro-sama descend in the first place? Because demons came out of Onikakushi swamp and attacked people. In fact, that was the wrong interpretation. Demons didn't come out of the swamp and attack people. People became demons and attacked others when they were possessed by whatever came out of the swamp. Whatever came out of the swamp? What do you mean? Whatever came out of the swamp possessed people, crawled into their blood, controlled them, and turned them into demons. People had no resistance against whatever it was that came out. They became demons, attacked the other villagers, and turned them into demons as well. That's right. It was a weird infectious disease that broke out from the swamp. It made the infected people go out of control. The villagers saw this disaster and explained it like so. Evil demons came out from the bottom of the swamp, possessed people, and turned them into demons as well. That is the truth of the story of the demons that came out of Onikakushi swamp. It actually explains the legend. So was Oyashiro-sama a doctor? Yes, that's not exactly correct, but he was something like... I'm really freaking confused. He came to Onikakushi and treated the infectious disease, but he couldn't cure it for good. All his treatment could do was reduce the symptoms of the infection. Villagers could have their symptoms suppressed, but there was no way to kill the parasites that infested them. After a while, the village was divided into two groups. One group was made up of people who were already infected, and the other consisted of the people who weren't. Wait, I thought that the curse was the homesickness thing. Without a cure for the disease, the uninfected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. They even talked about drowning them in the swamp. But they knew killing the infected people wouldn't solve the problem. The parasites came out of their water sources, including Onikakushi swamp. They couldn't fill them all in, for if they did that, they would lose their access to the drinking water. They could have chosen to leave the village, but that was hard for them, for that was the location of their ancestors' graves. Under the power of Oyashiro-sama, infected people could live without showing symptoms. So both those who were infected and those who weren't decided to live together equally and coexist with the parasite. Oyashiro was impressed by the villagers' decision. He decided to stay there and continue to treat them. That's the true identity of Oyashiro-sama, the benefactor who stayed in the village to protect the lives of both human and demon. That's right. And Oyashiro made rules in order to ensure the symptoms of the infected people would remain suppressed. The rules were to never leave the village and never let anybody into the village. I understand why he didn't want to let anybody new into the village. It was to prevent the parasite from infecting anyone else. But I don't understand why he didn't want people to leave. It seems like the parasite can only live in Hinamizawa because of the climate. That doesn't make any sense. The climate is probably very similar around many other of those areas in Japan. But okay. It causes an outbreak of symptoms in order to prevent the host from leaving the village when they try. That reaction is the truth behind the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The strongest symptoms of the infectious disease were violence and delirium. The infected people acted just like demons, and the impact of seeing them in the throes of the disease was strong enough to make others describe them as such. They couldn't even let people leave who just come to the village. If they had left after being infected, they might go crazy in a faraway land, turn into a vicious demon, and cause disaster. Infected people were never allowed to leave. When an infected person left the village, they brought him back by any means necessary. That was what it really meant to be demoned away. Hey, Hisashiburi Ori! Ugh, my chair is messed up. I gotta fix that. I finally just got back, so I gotta get out of here. I didn't even see your message. Ah. So I gotta make sure my streaming setup is back. So I thought I did, but I guess maybe it's not. Wait a second, Rena. That means everybody in this village, including you and I, are infected. But nothing happens when we leave Hinamizawa. In fact, many villagers move far away after getting married or something. I've never heard of any villagers who went crazy and turned into demons after they left. You're right. That's because things went as Oyashiro-sama thought they would. Do you understand? He isolated this village for a long time in order to weaken the power of the parasite. Hosts are very important for parasites. If something happens to the host, the parasites that live in the host have to share the same fate. In other words, if the host went crazy and attacked people, the host would be captured and killed, which means the parasites would die with the host too. I see. You're talking about natural selection. Good thinking, Keiichi. That's exactly right. As a result of living in this village under such strict rules for a long time, people who were hypersensitive to the parasite went crazy and got killed. The strong parasites that made the infected people go crazy were also killed off due to the host's violent behaviors. As a result, only the parasites that acted nice to people lived on. And that's the explanation between the mix of human and demon blood that's written in the legend of Oyashiro-sama. So, that means the parasite is almost harmless now. Yes. According to Mio's scrapbooks, there are actually many people who are infected by harmless parasites. It depends on the local food culture. For example, about 80% of people who live in a country where meat is staple food are infected by parasites. But because the parasites coexist with humans without doing any harm to them, nobody notices them, treats them, or tries to get rid of them. I see. In olden times, what nagashi was called harawata nagashi. Harawata meaning guts. Ah, I actually do know that word. Wata. It's said that people back then used to eat the guts of infected people who went crazy. It sounds awful, but it was something they had to do. It sounds like eating infected people is probably not a good idea, but you know, whatever, I'm not. Are you talking about a vaccine? You're very smart, Keiichi. Mio also interpreted it just like you did. In the legend, it says people cut open and ate the infected ones alive. But it actually wasn't anything gross like that. They did it in a scientific way. They created a vaccine from the infected people who died from the extremely strong parasites. and that helps the unaffected villagers boost their immune system. Who was Oyashiro-sama? I'm guessing Dr. Irie is a scientist? He must have been from a very advanced country. Was he German? Is the true identity of Oyashiro-sama a foreign doctor who survived a shipwreck? I think that'd be the most likely answer. He wasn't German, but he was a doctor of some sort. It's kind of interesting to reveal the truth behind old legends. I don't think Rena's story is too crazy to be true anymore. It still sounds crazy, of course, but I've never heard any theories that explain the legend of the village better than this one. I'm infected by the parasite too, right? I feel itchy all over now. A person is like a universe. We have countless numbers of bacteria in our bodies. Some of those bacteria are essential to us staying alive. Like bacteria in yogurt, right? I see. This is also what Mio wrote in her scrapbooks. You know termites, right? They eat wood, but they actually can't digest it themselves. They have unique bacteria that decomposes the wood fibers. As a result, termites can absorb what they eat. Come here, Miss Kitty. Come here, Miss Kitty. No, you can't pass me. I didn't know that. When I hear the word parasites, I feel creeped out almost instinctively. But now I know some of them aren't so bad to us. So the weird infectious disease that broke out from Onikakushi Swamp has been exterminated by now. Well, I shouldn't say exterminated. I should say it's harmless now. I thought it was crazy at first, but now I feel like I just saw the trick behind some crazy kind of magic. It's interesting. It is to us. But for the cult of Oyashiro-sama, this must be a very annoying theory. Of course. If Takano's theory is correct, Oyashiro-sama isn't a god. And the punishment by that god, namely the curse of Oyashiro-sama, that people have been so afraid of, will turn out to have been just the symptoms of an infectious disease. I see. That's what dethroning God would mean. So if the pathogen of this infectious disease was identified and announced to the public, the power of Oyashiro-sama would be completely lost. That's right! Oh, we're back to Rena. I have a feeling she's totally manipulating him. That's what they're afraid of. Mia was going to identify the pathogen. And for that, she was killed. So that must mean she identified it. Maybe she did, but she's gone, and she didn't say anything about that in her scrapbooks. That's the only reason I can think of, though. But it's the end of the 20th century. I'm sure the villagers have been examined by a lot of different medical institutions by now, right? I've never heard of anyone discovering a weird parasite like that. I know. It's true that the pathogen hasn't been found yet, but in fact there's evidence of some kind of parasite involved. What? Really? When a parasite enters a human body, the body's immune system cells, I cannot pronounce those, don't make me try to kill the parasite. They secrete an antibody called... The most common way of checking if a person is infected by a pathogen is to look at the levels of this secretion. According to Takano's research, people from Hinamizawa have very high levels of IgE in their blood. That's not all. They also have obvious symptoms of being infected by parasites. They don't have any allergies. IgE stimulates mast cells and they secrete histamines and serotonin as a result. These cause an allergic reaction. That allergic reaction isn't pleasant for humans, but is necessary for the body to kill the pathogen. I'm just going to point out right now that I am way beyond confused right now. Last time, I thought that the thing was like some homesickness thing and a mental thing, which was really cool, and now they're talking about biology and shit, which I don't understand at all, so... Alright. And also, it's Rena talking about it, which is like the weirdest person to be talking about it, but... well, whatever. But the parasites don't want to be killed, of course, so they secrete substances that counteract IgE. As a result, IgE stops stimulating the receptors of the mast cells, which stop secreting the chemical compounds. As a result, the antigen-antibiotic reaction, namely the allergic reaction, doesn't occur. In other words, a human body that was infected by a parasite secretes a high level of IgE, but doesn't display allergic reactions. For your information, a human body that's infected by a parasite doesn't suffer from hay fever. Oh my god. Stop! I don't care. You get hay fever due to your body secreting a large amount of IgE because it's mistaken pollen for a parasitic invasion. As a result, a large amount of stimulants like histamine will be secreted, but your body can't contain the parasite that it's attempting to kill. That's why your body continues to secrete IgE. As a result, the stimulants cause allergic reactions. That's how hay fever works. If you have a parasite in your body, it will deactivate your IgE and affect the system. I don't care. Okay. This just went into the scientific area, which I am not. Unless it's if it's mental, then it's cool. If it's this, I don't know, whatever. In other words, there's no hay fever in Hinamizawa, and you can cure your hay fever by moving here. Amber, if you get to this point in this series, please tell me if this is true, and if this makes sense to you, and if it does, please explain it to me. So we haven't been able to identify the pathogen, but there's no question about its existence. Yes, that's right. If that's true, the scrapbooks are a big threat to the believers in Oyashiro-sama. They don't identify the pathogen, but they clearly prove its existence. It poses a big enough danger to them to make it think it's worth killing Mio. This is really a scary secret. I believe because you took the time to explain, but you skipped the details and only told me the conclusion. It really would have sounded too crazy. I told you! I couldn't believe it at first either. I thought you definitely wouldn't. So what's important right now is there's a dangerous organization acting in the shadows to try and cover up the truth, right? Yes. That's the most important thing. The fanatics who want to revive the sanctity of the god they worship. Reviving the majesty of their god means reviving the power of that god. And the power of that god is that infectious disease. This infectious disease can't spread nationwide, unlike other infectious diseases. So from now on, I'm going to start calling it an endemic disease. Why can't it spread? That fits better since it only affects this region. Once again, climate in Japan can be very similar. All the way around, not just in one city. Anyway, the endemic disease of a current day in Hinamizawa is different from one of old times. It's been through the process of natural selection and it's harmless now. In other words, it doesn't do any harm to human bodies. That harm was once interpreted as a curse. A curse is the power of a god, so a harmless endemic disease means that the god is powerless. That means the only way to regain the majesty of the god is to revive the curse. In other words, they want to bring back the primitive endemic disease, namely the harmful strong version of the parasite. Wait a second. These fanatics want to deny the fact that their god was actually a parasite? But what you're saying, that they're researching the parasite, that's contradictory, isn't it? I know it is. I think this research is secret, that only the head of the fanatics is aware of. From the outside, they look like they're praising their god, but they actually understand its true identity, and they're trying to revive its supernatural power with their own hands. I get it now. I don't. God, this is getting crazier and crazier. It didn't say in the scrapbooks, but I'm suspicious of the clinic the manager owns. The idiot clinic? Why? The facility's too big and fancy for Hinamizawa. Mio was working there. The manager might be a bacteriologist the Sonozaki family recruited. It can't be. I think Mio was murdered because she knew too much. The reason why the manager hasn't been murdered yet is because he's working for the fanatics in the first place. And he's researching the primitive form of the endemic disease? It's hard to believe the coach we know is capable of doing things like that. I'm sorry. He might be totally irrelevant. It's just a wild guess, but someone is doing the research somewhere. That much is certain. And after 5 years, the research has finally been completed. None of this makes any frickin' sense. The first case was this dismemberment murder by the dam construction workers. Their quarrel had turned into a lynching. They might have had the primitive infectious disease, and the symptoms, the aggression and delirium, might have kicked in. The victims of the second year were Satoko's parents. There were no witnesses, so the whole event is veiled in mystery. But there's a theory that someone pushed them over the cliff since the fence of the observatory deck they fell from was quite sturdy. What if one of them was infected by the primitive parasite? He or she might have become violent and pushed the other one over the cliff. The Shinto priest died from a disease, and his wife drowned herself in the third year. He might have died of shock because of the hypersensitive reaction to the infection. I don't want this to be the case because, one, why would it happen on onikakushi each year if it's just if it's a scientific reaction, or if it's a scientific thing, why would it happen on a specific day, you know? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't it happen any other time in the year? His wife might have gone crazy and committed suicide when one of the symptoms delirium kicked in. In the fourth year, Satoshi's aunt was beaten to death, probably by Satoshi himself. Everyone who knew Satoshi remembers how he changed at that time. He showed signs of being both aggressive and delirious. Did he? In the fifth year, for the first time in 5 years, the victim experienced the maggot disease described in the old scroll of the Furude Shrine. The reason behind that is unclear, but the stronger primitive parasite could have given its victims a delusion of maggots. This means that they finally managed to duplicate the curse of Oyashiro-sama. After 5 years of research, Tomitake is the victim of the 5th year. He died in an extremely abnormal way, and I'm the only one who understands his death because I experienced the same thing. He kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. With all that explained, I finally understand the maggot disease I experienced in Ibaraki. I left Hinamizawa, and it made the parasite in me uncomfortable. As a result, it tried to resist, even though it wasn't very strong, and it tried to make me homesick. But with my parents' divorce, I grew mentally unbalanced, and I completely lost the power to resist for a period of time. The parasite was weak and harmless, but my mental instability allowed it to worsen my symptoms dramatically. As a result, I went crazy and became violent. The delusion of Oyashiro appearing to me in the bathroom was probably the terminal phase of my delirium. I created the supernatural existence, Oyashiro, and that was instilled when I was little. Then I persuaded myself to go back to Hinamizawa based on that delusion. Some of the transcendents of Onikafuchi must have had the same kind of experience. They must have passed their experience down as an act of God. I remember I once saw on TV that the indigenous people in South America used some kind of natural drug in order to have a mystical experience, and they called it a ritual to communicate with their gods. So what the fanatics are trying to do is spread the primitive parasites throughout Hinamizawa? I think that's their goal, but I don't think they'll do that without letting people know about it. Religions need ceremonies, so if they create what they wanted to, and create if they decided to spread it, I think they name it the Day of Oyashiro-sama's revival or something, and they perform some kind of ceremony. It would be in celebration of the revival of Oyashiro-sama. Oh, bless me. That's a bad thing, isn't it? I think you can say that. Because they're trying to spread a very dangerous pathogen. Hey, isn't that bioterrorism? Spad. They used it on Tomatake, confirming they succeeded in duplicating the curse of Oyashiro-sama, so that day of revival might be really soon. I don't know. It could happen a few days, or it might take a year. This is way out of your league, Rena. This is serious. There's nothing we can do alone to stop them. We have to report it. Do you think they will believe us? It's their choice whether they believe us or not. No matter what, we have to tell them. Keiichi, telling Oishi means telling him I have the scrapbooks. Do you think that's a problem? Oishi came to me after Mio was murdered. When they killed Mio, they found out their scrapbooks were missing. They also know that she met with me at the library a few days ago. No way. You mean... Yes. Oishi could be one of them. It's possible he thinks I have the scrapbooks and he might be trying to find them. In fact, he looked very suspicious, and it seemed to me he really didn't tell me everything he knew. He only told me things to make me suspicious of the Sonozaki family. He could have just been looking like he was on my side, and he's actually their minion. But the police are our only hope. Keiichi, you know about the case of the 4-year, don't you? Satoko's aunt was murdered. I think Satoshi did, but the police fingered a drug addict as the murderer. What do you think about that? Some of the fanatics are within the police, and they fabricated the murderer? It's the same with the autopsy of the Shinto priest who claimed died from the disease, and the inspection of the accident site where the Hojo couple died. If the police are on their side, it opens the door to many perfect crimes. The 3 families have been maintaining pressure on the police since the dam conflict. You've heard from me that they also have considerable power over many organizations in Okinomiya, right? Yes. It's not only Mion who told me that. Many people did. They told me the Sonozaki family holds influence over the whole city. That's right. You can't necessarily trust the police around here. Rena, please. I want to make one thing clear before we go on. Are the Sonozaki families the masterminds behind all this? Does that mean Mion's involved too? Please tell me. I don't know if me or Rika are directly involved. All I can say for sure is fanatics have the power to control the nerve centers of all 3 families, including the most powerful family of all, the Sonozakis. I'm not sure if the fanatics are controlling the 3 families or if the 3 families are the fanatics themselves. I love that Keiji is just taking her point blank verbatim word and not like asking to see the scrapbooks himself. And that is to remind you that this is a girl who just brutally murdered 2 people. Alright, anyways. Is that what you're saying? Yes. I'm not saying I don't trust me. She's usually very reliable, and I ask her for help with any problem, but not this one. This one's a little different. I don't know if you've seen it before, but although Mi jokes around with us, she can be a very cold person when she's acting as the successor of the Sonozaki family. Plus, even if she wasn't involved, we would put her in danger if we told her about this. But if she was on our side, that'd be helpful. I think we should tell her. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't tell her until we confirm she's not one of them. Sure, it'd be great if we could pull her to our side, but what if we couldn't? So how are we gonna fight against them? Well, this is a battle we don't stand a chance of winning to begin with. That's why I didn't want to get you involved. Damn it. To kind of left us with a big parting gift, didn't she? But because of that, we know about the conspiracy. I believe this is her will. 2 kids challenging the mastermind who controls the village? Ordinary methods won't work. But, Keiichi, I'm glad to have you on my side. We can talk about it and plan together. Of course. I've always been on your side. I'm your friend. I know. Thank you. You're very reassuring. 2 heads are better than 1. I agree. We can come up with a plan on how we're going to fight against them together. You guys are both stupid idiot morons. Alright. I skipped school today because I wanted some time to read the scrapbooks again, but I'm going to school again tomorrow and I'm going to act normal. They might sense something is wrong with me if I act different. You should do the same, Keiichi. Please be careful with me. She's sometimes very perceptive. Okay. I'll act normal as if I know nothing. But, damn it, I'm a bit scared. A huge conspiracy right around the corner and it might be counting down to 0. It's hard to act normal knowing that. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. Like I said earlier, if they really are religious fanatics, they need a religious ceremony. They need the help of the whole village to hold something like that. I can't think of any other event other than the Watanagashi. So you're saying we have time, at least until the next Watanagashi festival? I can't promise, but I just can't think of any other event than that. I think we have a year at least. But I also feel like we don't because of how they killed Mio. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than Watanagashi. It might not be long until that day. On the day of Oyashiro-sama's revival, they're going to spread a dangerous parasite, and that day might just be around the corner. Rena, are you still on the phone? Wrap it up, it's getting late. My father stuck his head out from the living room telling me I needed to wrap it up. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think your parents will be on your side no matter what. But I know just how weak he can get, so I couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyways. Even if I told him, he'd just tell me to call the police. It's better that I don't tell him. They might get close to my father to get me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including the scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with. I'm sorry, Keiichi. I have to go now. It's getting late. I'll see you at school. Alright, see you tomorrow. Be careful, okay? You're not an outsider anymore. Yeah, I'll be careful. I remember the suspicious men in the white van and felt a chill run through my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had the village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Rena and I aren't safe. If Rena is right, they're just suspicious of her, and they're not sure if she has the scrapbooks or not. But it's still creepy. Rena had probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. If they attacked her, she could have done something like going to the police. But all they're doing is just watching her from a distance. She can't do anything about it. She can't talk to anybody about it. You just contradicted yourself there. If the police really are on their side, then they could attack her without any repercussions whatsoever. So, she probably just wants to stay in her house all day. But if she acted different, they might take it as proof she had the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them without making it obvious. I told myself there was no going back, and I put the phone down. Once again, you haven't even seen proof. Why is Keiichi such a dumbass? He can be really sweet sometimes, but damn is he a dumbass. The next day, Rena came to school acting normal like she said she would. She talked with Mion as cheerfully as she always did, And it made me wonder if the story she told me last night was a complete fabrication. Now, you should wonder that. That's because the story really was too ridiculously crazy to believe. This village has a very weird and rare endemic disease, and there are religious fanatics who want to use the disease to revive their weird cult, and they've been researching the pathogen of the endemic disease so they can spread it throughout the village. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night and believed everything she said, but thank you, Keiichi. But thinking about it with a cool mind under the bright sun, it sounds too crazy to be true. The story Rena told me is based on Takano's crazy hand-me-down ideas. It's based entirely on her theories, which, though very feasible, have no evidence whatsoever. The fact that Takano was murdered lends credit to the story. Sure, I'll give you that, but I looked at Mion. She was fooling around with Rena. It's hard to believe she's involved with some crazy conspiracy. Hey, are you listening, Kay? What? Oh, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Wake up, Sleepy. You need to get enough sleep or your brain stops working. Mion made fun of me for reacting too slowly. It's almost impossible not to trust this bubbly, cheerful girl. I trust her. I trust my friends. I know she'd never have a hand in a crazy conspiracy like that. If she knew about it, she wouldn't be able to act this cheerfully. I mean, she rips people's nails off, or watches rip people's nails off, and probably tons of other torturous machinations, so I believe that she would be able to smile that way. Rena told me not to tell Mion because she might be one of them, but it might be worth telling her without letting Rena know. Of course, there's at least a 1% chance the conspiracy is true and that Mion is one of them. If so, I'd be doomed. But if I had to choose... Aww, Keiichi. Thank you. If I had to choose between believing the crazy conspiracy theory and trusting my friends, my answer would be obvious. I know that my friend Mion isn't part of any conspiracy. She'd never be involved with something like that. Even if the conspiracy exists, I'm sure Mion will be on our side. So whether or not it's true, it must be worth telling Mion about it. Oh, don't tell her here, you dumbass. Bring her to your home. Ask her on a date. What's going on, Kay? Why'd you call me out here? You told me not to tell anybody. You're not going to extort money from me, are you? Is that the first thing you think of when you're called out to the gymnasium storeroom? Oh, I know. You want to give me a love letter, don't you? People usually use this shoe locker for that, you know. We don't really do that in the city. A lot of guys hand over their love letters in person. Really? So, wait, you're, oh, poor Mion. Oh, poor Mion. Mion is in love with Keiichi. Just so if you guys aren't aware of that. Are you kidding me? That's not why I called you here. I have to talk to you about something very important. I want you to listen without making fun of me. What is it? Do you know that there are people who want to revive the cult of Oyashido? Huh? What are you talking about? This, of course, was just my way of getting a feel for the situation. I wanted to see how she was going to react by getting straight to the point. But Mion really looked puzzled. People wouldn't normally react like this if someone pointed out their secrets out of the blue. There was panic, if only just a little. Either Mion was a brilliant actress, or she really didn't have anything to do with the idea of reviving Oyashido-sama. I decided to tell her everything. Mion, your family, the Sonozaki family, has a lot of influence in this region, right? Do you think there's a possibility that they're working to revive the cult of Oyashiro behind the scenes. Revive? Why? Well, you know, people today don't worship Oyashiro-sama like the people in the old days did. So people like fundamentalists might be trying to make people worship Oyashiro in the same way as the people of Onikakushi? What? Wait a second. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you sure? You really have no idea what I'm talking about. Of course I don't. It sounds like one of those popular novels that sold 5 million copies over in America. Mian's reaction was very natural. It seemed impossible she was pretending she didn't know anything about it. But regardless, I continued. Well, there are people like that in this village for real. Do you know anything about them? You're saying that those people want to make us worship Oyashiro-sama like people of Onikakushi did. What good will that do? You know, I think it means a lot to the people who really believe. But think about it, Kay. Who'd be happy to live under those strict ancient rules? In this day and age, it's almost impossible to live without leaving the village. But, for example, think about Rika. All the old people say she's a reincarnation of Oyashiro, right? Those people might be religious fanatics and... Are you talking about old man Kimiyoshi? Well, I know he's a deeply religious man for sure, but he isn't a fanatic. Believe me, there really are people trying to revive the cult of Oyashiro once again. Ah. Okay, I'll believe you, because I want to hear the rest. Go on. They found out the curse was just an endemic disease unique to this village, so now they're researching the pathogen. Where? First of all, what's an endemic disease? What's a pathogen? Thank you. Thank you for being a teenager that doesn't know these words. They sound gross. I was getting confused. I didn't know what I was talking about myself anymore. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night and believed everything she said, but having said it out loud, I started realizing how impossible the story sounded. What's going on with you? Did Mio tell you all this? How did you know? She's infamous for this kind of thing. She's an occult maniac. She always makes up crazy stories. A few people have gotten badly taken in before. She told me some of her stories once, and I remember they're actually very interesting. Is that true? I think you've heard this about once or twice before, but this village has a unique culture back in the old days. They did a lot of oppressive things, like very strict rules, very strict punishments, and a bunch of other cruel traditions. They're well known among occult maniacs. Mio's one of them. So the story I heard about the parasite that controls the village was... What? Parasite? Is that a new story she came up with? What do you mean new? I told you. Mion's an occult maniac. She studies the weird legends surrounding Onikakushi and enjoys making up hypothesis theories and wild stories about them. She's created a lot of different ones aside from the theory that parasites are controlling the village. One I heard an awful while back was about UFOs. That one was interesting since it connected a lot of different dots. The story was about a UFO that crashed into Onikakushi Swamp long ago. The alien that was in the UFO and the villagers had a battle or something like that. It was like one of those sci-fi horror B-movies. I'm actually not entirely sure who to believe here. But I guess we'll know when somebody dies. The ones that I honestly think that Rena is trying to spread this curse to Keiichi. I think that's what she's doing. I really, 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 really think that's what she's doing. The one Satoko heard was a theory about creatures from the bottom of the ocean. A movement in the Earth's crust opened up a connection between the underworld and the onikakushi, and the princess of the underworld fell in love with the young man of this village. It was like a cyber version of Romeo and Juliet. The story about the parasites that you heard must be a new one. I hope she makes them into a book one day. Mion began laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. As I looked at her laughing like that, I realized I fell for something so ridiculous. At that point, it was obvious. I had been completely taken in. I'm sorry, Mion, but please answer my questions. First, do the fanatics who are trying to revive the cult exist? No, they don't. I mean, it's totally the opposite. The three families have agreed to open Hinamizawa to outsiders in order to make this village thrive. I mean, otherwise how would Keiichi move there? I believe that. I'm not supposed to tell anybody this, but there's a project to build a new highway by the end of the 20th century. The Sonozaki family is promoting its construction without informing the villagers. If all goes well, this whole area will flourish. My grandma is betting she'll make a fortune when it causes land prices in the region to skyrocket. You know what? I believe that, actually. I do believe that. And yeah. I do believe that the curse is some kind of disease, or like, whether it's, like I said, supernatural or this parasite thing, I'm not sure. But the thing is that we saw Rika with a syringe that caused her to do the throat thing. So that's the one piece that's not really clicking for me. Because, like, if you have to inject somebody with it. Okay. Well, most of the work will happen in the 21st century, so I'll end up, likely taking over the project. So, you don't think there are people who hate outsiders? I told you there's no such people. And once again, to back up this claim, everybody treats Keiichi fantastically. What makes you think we want to make this village more inconvenient than it already is? In fact, we've already started selling the land of the village to rich people who want to build country residences here. Your house is the first lot we sold, Kay. Didn't the villagers welcome you? The three families are trying to do everything they can to stop young people from leaving the village. There was nothing vague about what Mion had said. Her story makes a lot more sense than Takano's delusional theories. And so Mion's words woke me from that delusion. So what about this? I heard that residents of Hinamizawa have extraordinarily high levels of something in their blood, and it proves that they're infected by parasites. Really? How did Mion figure that out? Mio, Takano's a nurse. I'm sure she can do that. And you think anyone would give her blood samples for no reason? I mean, to be fair, she could look at blood samples that she had from, because I sure don't. Even if she could get blood samples somehow, how and where would she examine them? At the hospital? How many blood samples do you think she examined all by herself? Mion was right. I couldn't believe I thought Takano could do all this just because she was a nurse. It struck me hard to believe she got that many blood samples and did a high-level examination without any help. Once again, she works at a hospital. If somebody gave you a blood sample for anything, she could just take some of it, When I thought about it rationally, I shouldn't have believed such a ridiculous story so easily. I heard people here don't get hay fever, which is proof of their being infected by the parasite. Only people in cities get hay fever. I heard it has something to do with fuel emissions. Okay, you're talking about Hinamizawa. So hay fever is a really big thing here in Japan. Like, everybody has it. And I heard that if I live here long enough that I will get it as well. Which I hope is not the case, because I don't have any allergies except for I shouldn't drink milk. I'm lactose intolerant. Right. I mean, even people in Okonomiya don't get hay fever, I think. Well, what about this? I heard the Sonozaki family has a death squad and they kidnapped the grandson of a government minister once. That one we actually know is true, though. That sounds cool. I wish I had a squad like that. Okay, so she is lying because we know for a fact that last one is true. Even I was sounding ridiculous, but I believed all of it last night. I believed it because Rena looks so serious. It's true the grandson of the minister was found in Takasudo. We didn't do it. We just acted as if we did. What do you mean? Please explain. Okay. The Onikakushi Guardians protested violently during the dam conflict. They did something close to terrorism as well. But there were people who used the resistant movement for their own benefits. They used the name of Onikakushi Guardians to rob people of money and valuables. The Onikakushi Guardians were a very aggressive force at that time. There was a high possibility that some people thought they could use the name to extort money. The kidnapping case was one of those incidents. The kidnappers thought they could stifle the police investigation by acting like they were the Onikakushi Guardians. They kidnapped the boy to demand a ransom. But they never got a ransom phone call, did they? I actually can't remember. They were all very surprised. They were actually impressed those guys actually pulled it off. I remember they even said they'd give them an award. Wait a second. So the Onikakushi Guardians had nothing to do with the kidnapping? Nope, not at all. Mion said it firm, and we know that's a lie because we saw a scene with Mion and the grandma talking, unless that... It was a simple and clear answer which left no room for suspicion, and thinking about it, it's nothing surprising. Kidnapping the grandson of a minister and negotiating with him is a huge deal. The Onikakushi Guardians were a very aggressive group, but this operation wasn't so easy that it could be carried out by any normal residents of Hinamizawa. It was obviously the work of professional criminals without a doubt. Well, we know the Sonozaki family is professional criminals, so... Like I said earlier, the Sonozaki family acted as if they were the masterminds of the kidnapping case. What do you mean? This is a secret precept of the Sonozaki family. You can't tell anybody, okay? When an incident like this happens, we traditionally act as if we're responsible for it. It's tradition of bluffing. Bluffing? Really? Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works out in our favor. It can be a criminal incident, the weather, or even lottery numbers. We act as if it happened because the Sonozaki family wanted it to happen. It starts to sound like we're very powerful, doesn't it? That's the point. This is a secret strategy that only the Sonozaki family heads know about. This strategy is meant to make us look bigger and stronger than we really are. And then why are you telling Keiji? Wow. So, what about the plan they had during the dam conflict? The one to attack the Ministry of Construction. Was that true? I heard they obtained weapons and even trained for it. That was the spin we put on it. There's no way we could actually carry out a crazy plan like that. Our real goal was to make people believe that we were capable of doing things like that so we could exert pressure on the government. That's all. They obtained weapons, went through training just so they could exact pressure. They had no intention of actually carrying out the plan. The Sonozaki family was just bluffing. That made sense. Of course it did. It's impossible to attack the Ministry of Construction. Even if they didn't, it wouldn't solve the problem. All that I had to do was use common sense. Even if they did, they would have been crushed within seconds by a huge number of policemen. Why didn't I think of that? What about the weapons and the training? As for the weapons, no comment. But we did go through the training. We needed to do that in order to make the bluff look real. We gathered some younger men from my father's office and appointed Kasai as leader of the group. We went to a desert in Texas, played war games with some instructors, and went sightseeing in San Francisco afterwards. so, I couldn't think of anything else. It was obvious now. Rena and I both were completely fooled by the scrapbooks of Takano's delusion. Rena was so serious about it, so I believed her, but if you examined it closely, there were so many inconsistencies. I couldn't believe Rena took a delusion like that so seriously. Oh, she did, I'm sure. I knew the reason why, though. She was still in a state of shock after being caught with the corpses that day. She was mentally unstable. Then, when she came across this tall tale, she believed it. Rena's smart. She wouldn't have taken it seriously if she was stable. Plus, another thing happened to wake me up from this delusion. The white van I saw yesterday came to school during the lunch break. The 4 men in work uniforms I saw were there too. I said thank you to Mion and followed them. The man who talked to me yesterday knocked on the teacher's office. Hello, I'm from Okanogi Gardeners. Oh, thank you for coming. It's very hot today, isn't it? It sure is. By the way, you look very beautiful today, as always. Why, thank you. You can start whenever you're ready. We'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. The quote and invoice, I see. The date's left blank on both of them. Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you so much. All right, we'll start right away. The man was talking to Chi with a big smile. What are you doing here, my Bara? Oh, principal. Who's that guy? The principal pointed his finger at the window. When I looked out, I heard the noise of an engine starting. The noise was coming from the engine of a motorized lawnmower. I saw young men in work uniforms taking another lawnmower, some brooms, and a ladder out of the van. They're gardeners. We haven't taken care of the grass around the fence and the trees for a long time. I wanted to clean them up before summer. Mr. Principal, thank you for giving us a call. The man noticed the principal, took off his hat, and bowed. No need. I trust your work. Please take care of things. I think we can finish it today. We might make a lot of noise, though. Each worker took one of the tools and walked towards the fence where the grass was growing. The engine of the lawnmower was very loud, and the kids who were playing in the schoolyard looked at it curiously. Hey! It's dangerous out here. Go back to your classroom. It was Chi. She handed an envelope with the documents in it to the principal. It said Okanogi Gardeners in green on the envelope. Principal, please sign the invoice and drop it off at the office next time you go to town hall. Of course. Will do. Chi-sensei, did they come here yesterday? Why, yes. They came here to look at the grass late in the afternoon. They told me they get lost on their way back because they tried to take a shortcut. This village has a lot of small roads branching off everywhere. God, tell me about it. And they can be very confusing. I remember when I first came here, Chi-sensei started talking about when she got lost and they laughed together. There was never anything suspicious to begin with. I thought they were suspicious yesterday because of what Rena told me. At first, I thought it wasn't unusual to see a white van. But then, right after I heard her creepy story, I saw a white van parked on the road and I got scared. The gardeners weren't familiar with the roads of Hinamizawa. They got lost trying to take a shortcut on their way back. I really think Rena was trying to spread the curse. Because, like, one of the chapters she said she wanted to test something. I had it totally twisted around. I believed that fake-sounding story. I believed Sonozaki family was working behind the scenes. I fabricated the existence of a group of fanatical believers in my mind. Worse, I doubted Mion. Damn it. I'm such an idiot. There you are. She's my friend. We took each other's hand that day, saying we were family, made of friends, and that friends were friends no matter what. I said that. But then I doubted my friend. I'm so stupid. Anyway, Rena was the problem. She also needed to wake up from this crazy delusion. I had to hurry and wake her up. Rena seemed like she had no mind to listen to anyone. She truly believes the Sonozaki family are the masterminds of a large-scale conspiracy. Oh no. I remembered the plate of the white van, and I also remembered their faces. Without a doubt, this was one of the vans that had been following me. So far, I confirmed that 3 or 4 cars had been following me. I could especially recall this white van because it followed me around the longest of all. The people in the other cars must be lookouts, and the one in this van must be tasked with direct contact like kidnapping or assassination. So, you remember in the very first book when Keiichi started getting paranoid because and I'm pretty sure he got infected by the disease? I think that's what's happening with Rena now. Not saying that the theories might or may not be true, I don't know. I'm getting so many different information and so many different theories coming at me that it doesn't really feel like an answer arc. Although I'm certainly hoping that there will be an answer at some point. But it does feel like she's now under the curse. The lookouts secure the surroundings, and the one in this van attacked the target. That's a common maneuver, but involved both kidnapping and assassination. The scrapbook said that too. If so, I'd better watch out, because if it was them, not the lookouts who came to the school premises. I don't think they'll attack me while I'm in school. They're in the early stage of their covert operation now, hiding their fangs and claws into the last stage of the horrifying scheme. That's why they won't take action in school where people are watching. But it looked like they were talking with Chi in a very friendly way. I could only hear bits and pieces of their conversation, but it sounded very suspicious. I tried to remember the chatter and the movements of their mouths, and I played my memory of it like a videotape in my mind. Hello, Bubble Bubble. Oh, thank you for coming. It's very hot today, isn't it? It sure is, blah blah. You blah blah today, blah blah. Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready. Yes, we'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. The and I see is left blank on the... Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you so much. All right, well... I used the information I guessed. Okay, so I think I understand what this chapter is trying to show us. This chapter is trying to show us the source of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Because we're seeing, and that is why we're seeing Keiichi and Rena. We're seeing someone who's not affected by it and someone who is infected by it, and how different their minds are. And I believe that Rena tried to infect Keiichi with it, but because he talked to Mion and trusted his friends, it didn't work. I used the information I had to guess what was going on. I played the video again and again in my mind, and I also paused it and played it in slow motion to check it. Then, something unbelievably horrifying started to emerge. There's no doubt they're acquainted with Chi. But I've never seen them visit the school before, so it's hard to believe Chi is their contact. There's no doubt they're the death squad under the direct control of the Sonozaki family. They have the local accent, which proves they were chosen from the Sonozaki Corps. The death squad was talking with Chi. They know each other. What's their relationship? Who's Chi-sensei anyway? During the dam conflict, Hinamizawa School was closed, and it was merged with the one in Okonomiya. But the Onikakushi Guardians didn't accept that, and they made part of the Forestry Service's building into a school. But needless to say, the school they made didn't have a teacher. So it's only going to be a token form of resistance. But a teacher who had a strong passion for education felt sorry for the children, and she came to work there. That was Rumiko Chi-sensei. It was obviously strange. Teachers are government employees, and they normally belong to their prefectures. As long as they lie low and don't cause trouble, they don't get fired and they don't get demoted. They can work up until the efficient retirement age and they're guaranteed a fixed retirement fund. She was one of those government employees, but she defied the Board of Education and came to work for Hinamizawa. Maybe she wanted to move. The villagers admire her as a teacher of passion. I heard that Oyo Sonozaki herself successfully negotiated with the Board of Education that suspended Chi for defying their orders. It was easy to get an answer from this film connecting the dots. Chi was recruited by Oyo Sonozaki as a teacher to work at the school that Onikakushi Guardians had created. In other words, she was already working for Oyo before she came here. As for the principal, he was the principal of the school in Hinamizawa from the beginning. He's a respected person of this region, and he's been closely associated with the three families for a long time. So that means this school has been under the control of the Sonozaki family all along. That's why Chi is acquainted with the death squad. It makes so much sense. Chi confirmed that I came to school today, made a phone call, and called them here? I don't want to know why she called them here. If she called them just to monitor me, they'd wait near the gate until class was over. But they came onto school premises. Why? Stop pretending to be a fool, Rena Ryugu. Do you think nothing will happen if you pretend not to notice it? Think hard. Calm down. What will they do to me? In school? How are they going to do anything with my classmates and friends around me? What's easy? Chi said someone will come to tell me to come into the teacher's office during the last class of the day. What about my clubmates? That's easy too. She can easily make them go home early using her authority as a teacher. She can make up any reason she wants. Maybe the classroom's going to have carpentry work done today so they can't stay. It sure is. Well, thank you. You can start whenever you're ready. See, there's no doubt. They clearly said they're ready to do it today. And what else? Yep, we'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. I see. Left blank on the... Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you ever so kindly. I see. They gave Chi an envelope with some documents in it. That blank is an eerie phrase. Was my name supposed to be in the blank? Why is it left blank? What does it mean? I told you, Rena. Do you still think that nothing won't happen if you pretend not to notice it? Stop it! So what it must mean? It's an order from higher up. It says to make Rena Ryugu become blank. I took a peek from the shadows. I saw the principal taking documents out from the envelope. He started reading them. He looked stern. He looked serious. I wished I could take a peek at the documents, but I was too far away. It is so insanely fascinating to see the person infected and the person not infected right after one another. The envelope said Okanogi Gardeners and it had some numbers that looked like a phone number. Fortunately, I have good eyesight. I memorized the number. If they're a death squad, the gardening company must be a camouflage occupation. It probably doesn't even exist. I wanted to find out. I looked for a phone. There's only one phone. It's in the teacher's office. Fortunately, the teachers were chatting in the hallway looking at the gardeners. It was now or never. I made sure nobody was watching me go into the teacher's office. I rushed in and grabbed the phone on the principal's desk. I went over the phone number in my head and dialed it up. I'm glad they have a touch-tone phone. It would have been difficult if it was a rotary dial. If somebody answered, I'd only have to ask, is this Okanogi Gardeners? I'd wait for the answer before hanging up. It should be easy. Connected. The number you dialed is... I felt a cold chill run through my body from the bottom of my feet. Wait, don't make a quick tossment. I might have remembered the number wrong. No, I know I remembered it right. It was an easy number to remember. It's impossible to remember it wrong. Then Did I dial it wrong? I put the phone down and started over. This time I dialed the number more slowly. The teachers might be coming back at any time. In that situation, it was risky to do anything slowly. But I needed to make absolute sure. The number you dialed is... It's the same. There's no doubt. The company Okanogi Gardeners doesn't exist. It's just a camouflage for the Sonozaki family's death squad. Please make sure the number you dialed is correct. The number you dialed is... I was too stunned to put the receiver down. The announcement kept running over and over again. The voice was cold and creepy. I hung up the phone and rushed out of the teacher's office. I ran to the bathroom and held my head in an attempt to cool down. Calm down, Rena. Calm down. Stay cool. I wasn't safe here anymore. If I stayed here, I might be erased even in the open. They'd erase me? Why? They aren't certain I even have the scrapbooks. I told Keiichi where I hid the scrapbooks. Yesterday, I told him I hid them in my hideout in the garbage dump. Is Keiichi in cahoots with the Sonozaki family? I felt if in my head was a pot that was cooking some dubious stew. There was only soup in my brain. I cut up clues, information, facts, just like I cut vegetables and threw them in the pot. Some of them were floating on the surface and others were on the bottom of the pot. They were being cooked in boiling soup. No, it can't be. Keiichi's on my side. He's the only one who's on my side. He held out his hand to me at the trash piles. So did everyone else. There was no lie in that hand. When he grabbed my wrist, I felt nothing but his strong and pure heart. He promised he'd be on my side. I shouldn't doubt him. He's the only one I should trust. He's the only one who is on my side right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Keiichi. I was about to doubt you. I'm really sorry. Are we gonna see creepy Keiichi face? That'd be fun. I'm so sorry. I said it out loud on purpose. Full of regret, I doubted Keiichi, the only one who's on my side. Now that I think about it, whether I have the scrapbooks or not might not matter to them. Erase anyone who's suspicious. That's the safest way. Does that mean they're in a hurry? The day of Oyashiro-sama's revival might be just around the corner. And that's why they're trying to get rid of any small fish bones that are stuck in the throat by any means before it's too late. We don't need her anymore. Just erase her if you're worried so much. I could easily picture Oyorosu Sonozaki saying that. Picture? No. She did say that. That's why they're here today. What do I do? What should I do? Do I wait until school's over? I was like a fish in a pond. No matter how many times I escaped from the net, I was in a pond. And they own the pond. I didn't stand a chance. Then what do I do? I couldn't keep escaping from the net. I'd get out of the pond. I didn't know how to fight them. I didn't know who's on my side. I was about to give in to despair. For now, I have to think about how to survive this, so I at least have time to think about how to fight them. I have to get out of this pond. When I was about to leave the bathroom, one of my classmates came in. I pretended to be sick and talked to the girl while leaning on the wall. I don't feel good. I think I'd better go home. Can you tell Chi I left school early? I shouldn't let know Chi I'm leaving early if I'm trying to run away from them. But if I didn't, they might think I ran away without cause. That might lead them to chase after me without mercy. If that happens, I don't stand a chance. They were planning to capture me after school is open, but I happened to feel sick and left school early. If they took it that way, they wouldn't think I noticed the noose tightening around me. I was about to go back to the classroom to get my bag, but I changed my mind and turned around. I didn't need my bag anymore. I realized nobody was watching me, so I stopped pretending to be sick and started running. So whatever we see from Keiichi's point of view is what Rena and Mion were doing in the first book when Keiichi caught the disease. Chi, take a look at this. Take a look. Is something wrong with the documents? Yes, the date on the quote and invoice are left blank. They're supposed to put today's date here. Oh, they wanted to leave them blank. They said they couldn't put the same date on the quote and the invoice. They told to leave them blank by General Affairs. Okay then. And this, the phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope. Do you know which one is correct? Oh, I didn't notice that. Hello, excuse me. Yes? What's the matter? The phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope. Which one's correct? Oh, it's the one on the invoice. I used the old envelope you used at our former office. I'm sorry about that. I told our part-timer to add a stamp with the new phone number, but I guess she'd forgot. I apologize for the confusion. Can you just erase the number? This is so... Okay, yeah. So I don't know if it's bugs or if it's supernatural, but now we are definitely confirmed that the disease, I think it's caused via fear and paranoia. Because we could see it starting in Keiichi when Rena tried to spread it to him, but then he talked to Mion and got the facts and it stopped, right? And then he saw things clearly. So this is exactly what happened to Keiichi in the first book, but at the time, that's why we have the Keiichi and the Rena, so we could see what the real world looks like and what the person who is influenced by this curse looks like. And the person that's under the curse is the one that ends up doing this. Now, once again, I don't understand where the syringe that Rika had in the last book comes into play, because it seems like this is a mental thing. I don't know if anything was injected into her or Keiichi in the first one. I mean, I don't know, but I would love to see some scary Keiichi face, that's for sure. Anyways, thank you guys all so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and welcome back to me. So once again, please like this on YouTube, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. We're gonna try to finish this book. We're so close to being done and getting all the answers, and finally it's been such a long road for this series. The first few books were excruciating to get through because I couldn't deal with the constant restarting of the anime trope scenes over and over and over again. Once you get to the mystery parts, it's fascinating, but it's like, kill me. Alright, anyways, so that's it for tonight. I will see you guys all later. Adieu!